Hey there, guys. Now, every fall we start talking about immersion gear and kayak fishing safety in cold water and cold weather. And the same old debate always comes up about waders, and waders are a death trap, quote unquote. Somehow, magically, when water gets in your waders, it takes on a whole new physical characteristic. It somehow gets denser than water and it'll sink you and pull you under, which is absolute nonsense. Now, are waders and a jacket the best immersion gear option out there? No, but it's something that everybody already has, and buying a dedicated dry suit or semi-dry suit, while they are superior, they are very expensive, and some people simply just can't afford it, so they opt to use waders. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about waders today as immersion gear for cold weather, cold water kayak fishing. And I'm going to do two scenarios today, one where I properly fit everything, and then one where I don't properly fit everything. And I'm going to flip my kayak, and we're going to see the results of how it impacts how well this functions. The goal of immersion gear is to protect you above water, right? It's keep you nice, warm, and dry while you're out there fishing, even if it's rainy. But the real goal is if you flip your kayak and go in there, it wants to protect you from that initial cold water shock, which having all these layers on should do. And then you're trying to reduce the amount of penetration of water underneath that layer to keep you dry, so that when you do self-rescue, you don't become hypothermic even though you get back in your kayak. And if you fail to get back in your kayak, you want to try and have it keep you as dry as long as possible. And we will see how having that ability to self-rescue quickly will be pretty critical if you're going to be using waders. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your waders are fitted as well as possible. You want these tight to the body so that you don't have a lot of extra loose area for water to penetrate. So you're going to tighten up here. Most importantly is this little piece of equipment right here. This is your wading belt. You want this not loose. You want this as tight as you can tolerate, because this is what's going to prevent water from getting past your waist down into the inside of your waders here. So this is pretty important. So tighten this up as much as you can tolerate. There we go. I got that pretty snug, but not so much it's going to push the contents of my stomach up. Now the next section to this layering system is going to be a waterproof jacket. I prefer breathable waders and breathable jackets because that's going to keep allow moisture for my perspiration, for my body. Your skin's always respirating. You want that to be able to pull moisture away so you don't get clammy and cold just wearing your immersion gear, because you are going to be physically exerting yourself. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tighten up around my wrists as much as possible. I'm trying to prevent water from getting up in here when I flip the kayak. So get that nice and snug. And then I'm going to zip up my jacket. I'm trying to create multiple layers here to make it hard for water to penetrate up inside. Now if you have a waistband or anything on your jacket that allows you to cinch up around the waist, I would do that as well. I got a little bit of a neck band here I can pull that goes around with my hood, so I will go ahead and tighten that up as much as I can, trying to create some sort of gasket around the neck. I've got these pretty tight around the wrist. And then of course a really important thing is your PFD. So what we're going to do here is get the PFD on. You want your PFD to be nice and snug as well. And again, you're not trying to constrict your movement or breathing, but you are trying to create as watertight a seal as possible. A lot of guys I see don't, especially guys with bellies, they don't use these buckles here underneath. You really should, because that's going to help tighten up around the waist. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull all these straps here on the side and get this thing nice and snug, but not so much that it constricts my movement. But you don't want it too loose on the shoulder so that it can pull up and get stuck around your head. You want that tight as well. I'll go ahead and do that just really quick. There we go. Got one more. Okay. So now I'm gonna put this back here, and I've got a nice flexible motion. I can still breathe easy, but hopefully I have some decent protection. So let's go ahead, get out on the water, and I'm gonna flip the kayak. Okay, first thing I need to do is get the kayak to flip back over. And then get back in. You should be able to do that in less than 30 seconds. Whew. Okay, so one thing right off the bat, so I can definitely tell in this setup, I have a little bit less range of motion than I do in my semi-dry suit. But let's just peel this apart, see how wet I got. Okay, so I am damp here around the neck, which is usually where you're going to get your first water penetration. Let's go ahead and pull this down. Okay, so I am dry here in the core, but I am damp around my neck. I'm especially damp right here to there. And then my wrists are a little bit wet for about the first 6 or 7 inches. But my core is dry. That's pretty important for staving off hypothermia and letting your body maintain its heat. And I got no water penetration down past my waist, which is pretty critical, because if you get water past here, while it's not going to cause you to sink, it's going to severely disrupt your ability to self-rescue, because you're going to be adding additional weight to your feet and legs, and you're trying to pull those up into the kayak. So being able to rapidly self-rescue is going to be critical to preventing that, but also critical was just having everything nice and snug. Now I'm going to do everything wrong. I'm going to do what I see a lot of guys do, which is they don't have their wading belt tight, or they're not wearing a wading belt at all. They're going to put on their jacket, and they're just going to lightly put their wrists on. They're not going to put pressure on their wrists. I'm going to just take my jacket up to here, rather than all the way up to my neck to seal it off. And then on my PFD, I'm not going to use the belly button or belly snap. I'm just going to zip. This is one of the most common mistakes I see people do, because it puts a little bit more pressure there, or they have a little bit larger gut and they don't want to have that pressure, so they don't buckle. And then finally what I'm going to do is I'm going to purposely take longer to self-rescue. I've noticed that most people, when they go in the water, especially when they're caught off guard, they take a long time to get back in their kayak, usually more than a minute. And I try and keep that under 30 seconds. I think that's a reasonable goal that everybody should be able to do. When you flip over, ignore all your gear. Don't worry about getting your gear. Get that later. Get yourself back in that kayak. Keep yourself dry, especially in a setup like this. So this is a setup, everything's done wrong. I'm going to flip the kayak. I'm going to hang out there for a little bit. We'll see how much water penetration I get with the loose setup. All right, let's go. Okay. Oh, I'm really struggling to get back over. Oh. Okay. Whew. Oh, I made the mistake of not getting my paddle clipped. That's a common one. All right. Okay, so I probably didn't take the full 60 seconds there, but I think I have enough evidence here to show why having the ability to self-rescue quickly and wear your waders and wading jacket appropriately makes a big difference. So let's start peeling away the layers. Okay, I'm already, I can tell you, I am completely soaked in my core. My arms are soaked all the way up to about here. In fact, the only dry spot I have left is the shoulder here and here. It's wet from here down. But most importantly is I got full water penetration around my core. Both sides, my back and front, are entirely wet. And what's even worse is because I had my wading belt too loose, I'm soaked. There's water all the way down to my shoes. Now I didn't get a significant amount of water in there. It still actually did a pretty good job. I don't have gallons in there, right? I don't have a lot of added weight, but it's 65 degrees out right now. Water temp's about 62. I'm already feeling cold. So are waders really a death trap? No, they're not. And I think they can actually provide a layer of protection, especially if you're very practiced at self-rescue and you're confident that you can get back in your kayak in less than 30 seconds. If you can do it less than 20, you're really good, as long as you put everything on appropriately, wear that wading belt, tighten up around the wrists, around the neck. That's really going to save you, especially also on that PFD. You use that belt, that belly belt, and tighten everything up. I see a lot of people wearing their PFDs a little too loosey-goosey. But are waders as good as a dry suit or semi-dry suit? Absolutely not. Those are going to keep you drier longer. I think even with the best fitted waders and wading jacket, wading belt, all that, if you're in the water for more than 30 seconds, you're just going to start getting water penetration. You can't help it. A dry suit's going to buy you significantly more time. So if you are not super confident in self-rescue, a dry suit or semi-dry suit is really your only option for a safe day on the water. If you're confident in self-rescue and you just simply can't afford a semi-dry suit or dry suit, then you can go with the waders, you can go with a jacket, and just make sure you tighten up those belts, those wrists, as much as you can to prevent water penetration. Because I think a little bit of protection is better than none. Then I see guys going out there and just like wearing Grundens and heavy rubber boots which fill with water. You're going to get wet instantly. They provide very minimal protection beyond just the initial shock of hitting the water. I hope this video helped to illustrate the strengths and weaknesses of the wader and jacket approach to immersion gear for kayak fishing. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section below, or comments if you think this test was flawed in some way and in ways that I can improve it, because ultimately I just want people to be able to go out, enjoy cold weather, cold water kayak fishing safely, and come back to shore with their catch every day. All right guys, I'll see you next time. Just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye.